My husband celebrated with his mistress, so I walked in with the man she forgot to divorce. I found out about my husband's affair the way most women do, completely by accident. It was a Tuesday, an unremarkable, ordinary Tuesday in March. I was looking for Ethan's passport because we were supposed to be planning a trip to Italy for our 10th wedding anniversary. He'd left his desk drawer unlocked, which should have been my first clue that something was wrong. Ethan was meticulous about locked drawers, password-protected files, encrypted emails. But that Tuesday, the drawer slid open easily. Inside, beneath some folders and old contracts, I found a receipt. Dinner at Le Bernardin, the most exclusive French restaurant in Manhattan. The date was 3 weeks ago, a Thursday night when Ethan had told me he was working late on the Morrison acquisition. The total made my breath catch. $847. 4-2. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through the itemized list. Champagne, the expensive kind. 2 filet mignons. Chocolate soufflé. Wine I couldn't even pronounce. This wasn't a business dinner. Business dinners didn't include chocolate soufflé and champagne that cost $300 a bottle. I should have confronted him right then. Should have called him at work, demanded an explanation, made a scene. But something stopped me. Some instinct that whispered, wait, watch, gather evidence. So, I put the receipt back exactly where I'd found it. Closed the drawer. And went about my day like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Subscribe now if you want to see how this revenge unfolds. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. I checked Ethan's credit card statements while he was in the shower. I tracked his location on the Find My Phone app we'd set up for safety. I even hired a private investigator, a woman named Monica Charon who came highly recommended and didn't ask questions about my motivations. Just get me proof, I told her. Photos, videos, whatever you can find. I need to know who she is and how long this has been going on. Monica was efficient. 5 days later, she called me to her office in Midtown. Mrs. Hayes, she said, sliding a manila folder across her desk. You're not going to like what's in here. I opened it. The first photo showed Ethan walking into a building in the Upper East Side. Expensive area. Old money. The second showed him in front of an apartment door, checking his watch. The third showed the door opening. And there she was. Tall. Stunning. Mid-30s with honey blonde hair that fell in perfect waves past her shoulders. She wore a silk robe that probably cost more than my car payment. Her smile was wide, welcoming, intimate. The smile of a woman greeting her lover. Her name is Victoria Cole, Monica said. Divorced, or so she claims. Fashion consultant. Runs her own boutique styling business. Clients include celebrities, politicians' wives, socialites. She's well-connected, well-regarded, and from what I can tell, well-compensated for her services. I stared at the photo. Victoria was beautiful in that effortless way that made women like me, average height, average looks, average everything, feel instantly inadequate. How long? My voice sounded strange. Distant. Best I can tell? About 14 months. They've been careful. No public dates. No social media interaction. But they meet at her apartment twice a week. Sometimes 3 times. Your husband's credit card shows regular charges at high-end restaurants always split exactly in half, which is a classic cheater move. Makes it look like he's dining alone. 14 months. Over a year. While I'd been planning our anniversary trip, organizing charity galas, hosting dinner parties for his business partners, he'd been with her. There's more, Monica said, her expression uncomfortable. More. She pulled out another photo. This one showed Ethan and Victoria at what looked like a private beach somewhere tropical. She was in a bikini, laughing, her hand on his chest. He looked at her the way he used to look at me. Before work consumed him. Before success changed him. Before I became just another item on his to-do list. This was last month, Monica explained. He told you he was at a conference in Miami, correct? I nodded numbly.
He was.
For 2 days. Then he and Ms. Cole flew to the Bahamas for a long weekend. They stayed at the Ocean Club, presidential suite. He paid cash to keep it off the credit cards, but hotel loyalty programs are remarkably easy to track. I felt something crack inside me. Not my heart. That would come later. This was something else. Something colder. The death of illusion. The moment when you realize the life you thought you were living was actually an elaborate fiction. Is there anything else? I asked. Monica hesitated. One more thing. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, they're celebrating their anniversary. 1 year since they made it official, according to text messages I was able to recover. They have reservations at Oriole. 8 o'clock. A private table. Anniversary. They were celebrating an anniversary of their affair, while I was at home planning our actual wedding anniversary. The audacity was almost impressive. Thank you, Monica. I stood, gathering the photos. Send me your final invoice. And Monica? I was never here. You never took these photos. This conversation never happened. She understood immediately. What conversation? I smiled. It felt wrong on my face, like wearing someone else's clothes. Exactly. I went home and did something I'd never done in 10 years of marriage. I went through Ethan's things. His laptop, password protected, but I knew his passwords. He used the same combination everywhere. Our wedding date plus his mother's birth year. I used to find it sweet.
Now, it just seemed lazy.
His email revealed dozens of exchanges with Victoria. Nothing explicit. Ethan was too smart for that, but coded language that made my stomach turn. Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. I'll bring dessert.
V.
Can't stop thinking about our conference last week. When can we schedule another?
E.
Missing you. This bed feels too empty.
V.
I found a separate credit card I didn't know existed. Monthly charges to jewelry stores, boutique hotels, a private wine club. Thousands of dollars. Money that should have been going to our joint account, to our savings, to the future we were supposedly building together. I found a folder on his desktop labeled Tax Documents 2022. Inside were photos.
Dozens of them.
Victoria in various states of undress. Victoria laughing at some restaurant. Victoria asleep in what was clearly a hotel bed, the morning light soft on her face. He'd photographed her like she was art, like she was precious. He hadn't photographed me in 3 years. I sat there in his office, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and I realized something important. I wasn't sad. I was furious. Not the hot, explosive kind of fury that makes you throw dishes and scream. The cold kind. The calculating kind. The kind that makes you dangerous. Ethan Hayes thought he could have both worlds. The respectable wife who managed his home and elevated his social status. And the exciting mistress who made him feel young and desired. He thought I was too comfortable, too dependent, too weak to do anything about it. He was about to learn exactly how wrong he was. I called Monica back that evening. I need you to dig into Victoria Cole. Everything. Her business, her finances, her past relationships, her family, her secrets. Everyone has secrets, Monica. I need to know hers. May I ask why? Because I'm not going to cry or beg or fall apart. I'm going to destroy them both. But I need ammunition first. There was a pause. Then Monica's voice came back, tinged with something that might have been respect. I'll have a full report by tomorrow morning. Make it before noon. I have an anniversary dinner to prepare for. Monica's report arrived at 11 a.m. the next day. I sat in my favorite cafe, the one Ethan never went to because he said the coffee was pedestrian, and opened the file.
Victoria Cole.
36 years old. Born Victoria and Whitmore in Greenwich, Connecticut. Old money, boarding schools. A brief stint at Parsons before she dropped out to marry Daniel Cole at age 23. I stopped reading. Backed up. Read it again. Married Daniel Cole at age 23.
Married.
Past tense? I kept reading. Daniel Cole. real estate developer, specialized in luxury properties. The marriage had been volatile, lots of public arguments, a few tabloid mentions. They separated after 3 years, and Victoria moved to Manhattan to start her styling business. But here's where it got interesting. There was no divorce decree on file. Not in Connecticut. Not in New York. Not anywhere Monica could find. Victoria had left Daniel, changed her name back to her maiden name professionally, told everyone she was divorced. But legally, she was still married. I read the line 3 times, my heart starting to race. Victoria Cole was committing adultery with my husband while still legally married to someone else. In New York, that wasn't just scandalous, it had legal implications, financial implications, social implications. And better yet, Daniel Cole was still alive, still in New York, still running his real estate empire, still, according to public records and social media, apparently unaware that his wife had been living as a divorced woman for over a decade. An idea began to form. Audacious.
Risky.
Potentially devastating.
Perfect.
I picked up my phone and dialed the number Monica had included in her report. Daniel Cole's office. A professional voice answered. Yes, hello. My name is Charlotte Hayes. I need to speak with Mr. Cole about a matter concerning his wife, Victoria. It's rather urgent.
A pause.
Mr. Cole doesn't have a wife, ma'am. Perhaps you have the wrong. I think Mr. Cole will want to take this call. Tell him it's about Victoria Whitmore. He'll understand. Another pause. Then, please hold. 90 seconds later, a man's voice came on the line.
Deep.
Cautious. This is Daniel Cole. Who is this? Mr. Cole, my name is Charlotte Hayes. I apologize for the intrusion, but I have information about your wife that I believe you'll find very interesting. Are you available to meet this afternoon? My wife? What are you talking about? Victoria and I haven't been together in 13 years.
I'm aware.
But Mr. Cole, have you ever actually divorced her? Silence. Long, telling silence. I'd really prefer to discuss this in person, I continued. It concerns both of us, actually. We have something in common. We've both been lied to by people we trusted. Can you meet me at the Gramercy Park Hotel? Say, 2 o'clock. Why should I trust you? Because if what I've discovered is true, Victoria has been representing herself as divorced for over a decade while legally, she's still your wife. And that has implications, Mr. Cole. Financial implications. Legal implications. And tonight, she's celebrating an anniversary with my husband. So I'd say we both have a vested interest in setting the record straight, wouldn't you? Another pause. Then, 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Hit that like button right now. This is where everything changes. Daniel Cole was not what I expected. I'd pictured someone slick, corporate, maybe a little sleazy. After all, he'd been married to Victoria. But the man who walked into the hotel lounge was different.
Tall, yes.
Handsome in that distinguished, gray at the temples way.
But there was something genuine about him.
Something that suggested the years had taught him caution. Charlotte Hayes. He extended his hand. Mr. Cole. Thank you for meeting me. We sat. He ordered scotch. I ordered wine I wouldn't drink. We sized each other up like boxers before a match. You said you have information about Victoria, he started. I pulled out the folder Monica had prepared. Photos of Ethan and Victoria. Restaurant receipts. Hotel records. And most damning, a copy of Daniel and Victoria's marriage certificate from 2012, along with records showing no divorce decree had ever been filed. Daniel stared at the marriage certificate like it was written in a foreign language. I assumed. He trailed off. She told me she'd filed. She sent me papers to sign. I signed them, sent them back. I thought it was done. She lied. Those papers were never filed. According to New York state records, you and Victoria are still legally married. His jaw clenched.
Why?
Why would she do that? I don't know. Maybe she wanted to keep access to your name, your connections. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she liked the option of coming back. But the fact remains, she's been representing herself as divorced for 13 years while legally remaining your wife. And for the past 14 months, she's been having an affair with my husband. I let that sink in. Your husband knows she's married? He thinks she's divorced. Just like you thought you were divorced. Victoria seems to have a talent for managing the truth. Daniel took a long drink of his scotch. What do you want from me, Mrs. Hayes? Tonight, Victoria and my husband are celebrating their 1-year anniversary at Oriole. Private table. 8 o'clock. They think they're in love. They think they're being clever. They think no one knows. And you want to expose them. More than that, I want to destroy them. But I can't do it alone. I need you there. I need Victoria's legally wedded husband to walk in with me and make it impossible for her to spin this as anything other than what it is, adultery, while still married. That's grounds for all sorts of legal complications, Mr. Cole. Alienation of affection claims. Financial penalties. Social destruction. You want revenge. I want justice. There's a difference. They lied. They cheated. They thought we were too weak, too stupid, too comfortable to fight back. I'm going to prove them wrong. But I need your help. Daniel studied me for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. Not a happy smile. Something colder. More dangerous. What time should I pick you up? I spent the rest of the afternoon preparing. Hair, swept up in an elegant twist that took 2 hours at the salon. Makeup, dramatic but classic, with red lips that matched the dress I'd bought specifically for tonight. Nails, deep crimson, freshly manicured, perfect for close-up photographs. And the dress.
God, the dress.
Red silk. Form-fitting. The kind of dress that commands attention, that makes people stop mid-conversation and stare. The kind of dress that says, I am not a victim. I am a force. I'd spent $3,500 on it using Ethan's credit card. The irony was delicious. At 7:30, Daniel knocked on my door. He'd cleaned up too. Tailored suit. Designer watch. Every inch the successful real estate mogul. Together, we looked like exactly what we were supposed to look like. Power couple walking into an exclusive restaurant. Ready? He asked. I looked at myself one more time in the hallway mirror. This was it. The moment I either reclaimed my dignity or made a spectacular fool of myself. Ready. We took Daniel's car, a Mercedes that smelled like leather and expensive cologne. The drive to Oriole took 20 minutes through Manhattan traffic. Neither of us spoke much. We were both running through what was about to happen, preparing for confrontation. Can I ask you something? Daniel finally said as we pulled up to the restaurant. Of course. Why go to all this trouble? Why not just divorce him quietly, take half his assets and move on? I looked at him. Because quiet divorces let men like Ethan and women like Victoria move on to their next victims. Because they need to understand that actions have consequences. Because I spent 10 years building a life with him, and he threw it away for someone who can't even be honest about her marital status. But mostly, I smiled. That cold smile I was getting better at. Because they deserve it. Daniel laughed, a real laugh this time. Remind me never to cross you, Charlotte Hayes.
Smart man.
We walked into Oriole like we owned it. Daniel offered his arm. I took it. We moved through the entrance, past the host stand, toward the private dining room where I knew Ethan and Victoria were celebrating. This was going to be spectacular. The restaurant was exactly as exclusive as its reputation suggested. Soft lighting. Expensive art on the walls. The hushed conversation of Manhattan's elite, everyone speaking in those carefully modulated tones that suggested old money and older secrets. Waiters moved like shadows, efficient and nearly invisible. Daniel and I walked through the main dining room. People noticed. You could not notice. We looked like we'd stepped out of a fashion magazine.
Power. Wealth.
Purpose. The hostess intercepted us. Good evening. Do you have a reservation? We're meeting someone, I said smoothly. Private dining room. The Hayes party. Her professionally maintained expression flickered.
Just for a moment.
Then she recovered. I'm sorry, but that's a closed party. I can't. Charlotte Hayes, I said, meeting her eyes. That's my husband in there. So, unless you want a scene in your main dining room, I suggest you let us through. She looked at Daniel, then back at me, calculating the social cost of each option. Of course, Mrs. Hayes. Right this way. We followed her through the restaurant. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears.
My hands were steady, though.
My face was calm. I'd practiced this expression in the mirror.
Cool. Composed.
Completely in control. The private dining room had glass walls that could be frosted for privacy. Tonight, they were clear. I could see inside. Ethan sat at a table for two, his back to us. Victoria faced the door, laughing at something he'd said. She wore cream, soft, feminine, expensive. Her hair caught the candlelight. She looked like an angel. She was about to look like something very different. Shall we? Daniel murmured. Let's make an entrance. He pushed open the door. The conversation stopped instantly. Ethan turned, his expression cycling through confusion, recognition, shock, and then pure, undiluted panic. Victoria's smile froze on her face. Her eyes went wide. She looked at Daniel like she was seeing a ghost. Hello, darling, Daniel said to her, his voice carrying. Miss me? Daniel. She breathed his name like a curse. What are you doing here? Having dinner with my wife. He gestured to me.
Oh, sorry. Not you.
You're still my wife legally, but I meant Charlotte here. We're on a date. Funny how life works out. I walked further into the room, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor. The sound echoed.
Dramatic. Perfect.
Ethan, I said, my voice honey-sweet.
Surprise.
Charlotte. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. What is this? What are you? Celebrating. I interrupted. Isn't that what tonight is about? Celebrations? Anniversaries? Victoria, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary with my husband. That's so special. A whole year of lying and sneaking around. Really, it's quite an achievement. Victoria found her voice. Charlotte, this isn't we're not. Not what? Not having an affair? Not currently sitting at a romantic dinner while both of you are legally married to other people? I let my eyes sweep the room. The champagne, the roses, the intimate table setting. Because it certainly looks like you are. Ethan moved toward me. Charlotte, let's talk about this outside. Privately.
No.
The word came out sharp. Final. We're not doing this privately, Ethan. You didn't end our marriage privately. You did it in secret, behind my back for 14 months. So we're going to do this right here, right now, in front of the woman you chose over me. I never chose. Didn't you? I pulled out my phone, started scrolling through photos Monica had provided. Let's see. February 14th. While I was at my mother's birthday dinner, you and Victoria were in the Bahamas. March 3rd. While I was volunteering at the Children's Hospital Charity Auction, an event you were supposed to attend with me, you were here. With her. Drinking champagne that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I looked at Victoria. Did he tell you he was married? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Clearly calculating the best response. Don't bother lying, I said. I know he did. He told you our marriage was complicated. That we were growing apart. That I didn't understand him the way you do. Am I close? Her silence was answer enough. I turned back to Ethan. Here's what's interesting. I could divorce you. Take half of everything. Make this messy but ultimately unremarkable. Rich man cheats on wife. Wife gets payout. Everyone moves on. Boring. Predictable. Then what do you want? His voice was strained. I want you to understand what you threw away. What you destroyed. But more than that, I gestured to Daniel. I want Victoria to understand that lying has consequences. Daniel stepped forward, pulling papers from his jacket. Victoria, do you remember these? The divorce papers you sent me 13 years ago? The ones you claimed to file? She'd gone pale. Daniel, I can explain. You never filed them. He laid the papers on the table. We're still married, Victoria. Legally. Which makes your relationship with Mr. Hayes here not just an affair, but adultery by a married woman. And in New York, that opens up all sorts of interesting legal possibilities. That's ridiculous, Victoria said, but her voice shook. Those papers were filed. I have copies. Copies of papers you created, but never submitted to the court. I checked. Charlotte here helped me check. There's no divorce decree on file. Anywhere. Which means for the past 13 years, you've been lying about your marital status. To clients. To business partners. To lovers. He looked at Ethan. Did you know she was still married? She's divorced, Ethan said automatically. Then, less certainly, you're divorced. Victoria's composure cracked. It was a technicality. I meant to file them. I just forgot. For 13 years? I let the question hang. That's quite the oversight, Victoria. A waiter appeared at the door, drawn by the raised voices. Is everything all right in here? Everything's perfect, I said brightly. Just a family reunion. Could you bring another bottle of champagne? We're celebrating. Make it the most expensive one you have. Put it on the Hayes account. The waiter fled. Ethan found his voice. Charlotte, this is insane. You're making a scene? No, Ethan. You made this scene 14 months ago, when you started fucking someone else. I'm just making sure everyone sees it clearly. Victoria stood abruptly. I'm leaving. Sit down, Daniel said. Not loud, not aggressive, but something in his tone made it a command, not a request. She sat. Here's what's going to happen, I said, taking control. Ethan, you're going to go home tonight and pack your things. You're going to move out. And you're going to give me the divorce I deserve on my terms. Generous terms, considering your infidelity is now publicly documented. You can't prove. I held up my phone. 14 months of photos, receipts, hotel records, text messages, and testimony from a very thorough private investigator. I can absolutely prove it. And I will, if you make this difficult. His face went red. You had me investigated? You violated my privacy. Your privacy? I laughed. It sounded harsh even to my own ears. You gave up any right to privacy when you gave Victoria a key to our vacation home. Yes, I know about that too. She's been using our Lake George house. Sleeping in our bed. Using the sheets I bought. Tell me, Victoria, did you enjoy the thread count? She looked like she might be sick. Subscribe right now if you want to see how this ends. Because we're just getting started. Ethan's hands were shaking. I'd never seen him shake before. He was always so controlled, so composed. Seeing him unraveling was almost intoxicating. You're being vindictive, he said, his voice low and dangerous. This isn't like you, Charlotte. You're right. The old Charlotte would have cried in private, would have blamed herself, would have asked what she did wrong to drive you away. I leaned closer. But the old Charlotte didn't know her husband was a liar and a cheat. The new Charlotte? She's done playing nice. Victoria finally spoke, her voice tight. What do you want from me? Nothing. You're Daniel's problem now. I looked at Daniel. She's all yours. Actually, Daniel said, pulling out another folder. Victoria, we need to talk about something else. Community property. Her eyes widened. What? We're still married. Which means legally we still have community property rights. That boutique you started? The one you've been growing for 13 years? Half of that is mine. Your client list. Your revenue. Your business assets. Unless we're divorced, I have a legal claim to 50% of everything you've built. The color drained from Victoria's face. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You disappeared from my life, told everyone we were divorced, started a whole new existence while conveniently remaining legally tied to me.
Why?
So you could come back if things didn't work out? So you could claim my assets if I died? Or did you just not care enough to actually finish what you started? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Daniel's voice was hard now. Explain it to me, Victoria. Explain how you forgot to file divorce papers for 13 years. Explain how you introduced yourself as divorced to everyone you met. Explain how you started a relationship with a married man while you were still married yourself. She had no answer. Ethan found his footing. This is entrapment. You orchestrated this whole thing.
No, interrupt.
You orchestrated this when you started sleeping with someone else. I just made sure there were cameras to document it. I gestured to my phone. I've been recording this entire conversation, by the way. Audio and video. For the divorce proceedings. I hope you both said everything you meant to say. The panic in Ethan's eyes was beautiful. You're bluffing, he said. Am I? I pulled up the recording app on my screen, showed him the timer running. 17 minutes and 32 seconds. Should be plenty for my attorney. Especially the part where you essentially confirmed the affair by not denying it. He lunged for my phone. I stepped back smoothly, and Daniel moved between us. Don't, Daniel said quietly. You really don't want to add assault to your list of problems tonight. Ethan backed off, breathing hard. This is blackmail. No, this is consequences. There's a difference. I looked between him and Victoria. You both thought you were so clever, so careful, meeting in secret, using cash, keeping me in the dark. But you forgot something important. What's that? Victoria asked bitterly. You forgot that I'm smarter than you thought, that I have resources. That betrayal doesn't make me weak. It makes me dangerous. I smiled. You should have just been honest, Ethan. If you wanted a divorce, you could have asked. But you wanted everything. The respectable marriage and the exciting affair. The social status I provided and the passion she offered. You wanted your cake and to eat it too. And now, his voice was barely a whisper. Now you get nothing. You get a very public, very messy divorce where everyone knows you're a cheater. You get your reputation destroyed. You get whispers at the country club and pitying looks from colleagues. You get to be the cautionary tale. I turned to Victoria. And you get to deal with being still married to Daniel. You get to explain to your clients why you've been lying about your marital status for over a decade. You get to watch your carefully crafted image crumble. Because here's what I know about your industry, Victoria. Reputation is everything. And a stylist who can't even keep her own life in order? Who commits adultery while still married. That's not someone Manhattan's elite wants dressing them. She stood abruptly, grabbing her purse. I'm done with this circus. Actually, you're not. I pulled out my own folder. Before you go, you should know. I've sent documentation of your marital status to the New York State Licensing Board. Turns out when you registered your business, you claimed to be divorced. That's fraud, Victoria. False statements on official documents. Her hand tightened on her purse. You're lying. Am I? Check your email. The board sent you a letter about 2 hours ago. They'll want to schedule a hearing. Something about misrepresentation and business licensing requirements. I'm sure it's nothing. I'd spent $15,000 of Ethan's money to make sure that letter was sent through proper channels with proper documentation. Every penny worth it to see the look on her face. You're destroying my business, she whispered.
No.
Your lies destroyed your business. I just made sure people found out about them. Daniel looked at his wife, because she was still his wife, with something that might have been pity. You did this to yourself, Victoria. All of it. You could have just filed the damn papers. I'm leaving, she said again, moving toward the door. One more thing, I called out. She stopped, turned. I've scheduled a press release for tomorrow morning. Just a small announcement about my impending divorce from Ethan Hayes, citing his affair with a still married woman. Nothing scandalous. Just facts. I thought you should know. You wouldn't. I already did. It goes live at 8 a.m. You have until then to figure out your story. I'd suggest hiring a good publicist and a good divorce attorney. You're going to need both. Victoria's face twisted with rage. You vindictive bitch. Actually, I prefer women who refuse to be a victim. But call me what you want. It doesn't change anything. She stormed out. The glass door slammed behind her. Ethan and I stood there, facing each other across the ruins of our marriage. Daniel tactfully moved to the doorway, giving us space, but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Was this really necessary? Ethan asked quietly. All of this? You could have just asked for a divorce. Could I have? When were you planning to tell me, Ethan? After our anniversary trip to Italy? After I'd spent another year playing the dutiful wife while you fucked someone else. He flinched at the language. You stole 14 months of my life. I continued. 14 months where I could have been grieving, healing, moving on. Instead, I was planning anniversaries and hosting your business dinners and believing in a marriage that didn't exist. So yes, this was necessary.
Because you needed to understand what you did.
What you destroyed. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. And intent doesn't erase impact. I picked up my purse. Your things need to be out of the house by Friday. My attorney will contact you next week with divorce terms.
And Ethan? Don't fight me on this.
You've already lost. I walked toward the door. Daniel fell into step beside me. Charlotte. Ethan called out. I stopped. Didn't turn around. For what it's worth. I'm sorry.
No, you're not, I said.
You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. And then I walked out of that private dining room, out of the restaurant, out of my marriage with my head high and my dignity intact. Behind me, I heard Ethan make a sound that might have been a sob. I didn't look back. The press release went live at exactly 8 a.m. I'd worked with a publicist, a woman Rachel had recommended, to craft something that was factual without being melodramatic. Just the truth, presented clearly. Charlotte Hayes, wife of financier Ethan Hayes, has filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences stemming from Mr. Hayes' extramarital relationship with Victoria Cole, a Manhattan-based fashion consultant. Mrs. Hayes discovered the affair, which had been ongoing for 14 months, earlier this month. Further complicating matters, Ms. Cole appears to still be legally married to real estate developer Daniel Cole, despite publicly representing herself as divorced for over a decade. Mrs. Hayes' attorney, Jennifer Morrison of Morrison & Associates, declined to comment on the specifics of the divorce proceedings, but confirmed that substantial evidence of the affair has been documented. Mrs. Hayes released a brief statement. I am deeply hurt by my husband's betrayal, but I refuse to be defined by it. I am moving forward with my life and rebuilding on my own terms. I ask for privacy during this difficult time. My phone started ringing at 8:03 a.m. Friends, family,
colleagues,
reporters. Everyone wanted to know if it was true what happened. Was I okay? Did I need anything? I turned my phone off and made coffee. Rachel showed up at 9 a.m. with bagels and a fierce expression. You're a goddamn legend, she announced, sweeping into my kitchen. Have you seen the internet? You're trending on 3 different platforms. Hashtag Charlotte Hayes, hashtag Revenge in Red, hashtag Still Married. They're all talking about you. I don't want to be trending. I wanted to protect myself and move on. Well, you're doing both, but you're also becoming an icon. Women everywhere are celebrating you. Look at this. She showed me her phone. Twitter was exploding. Charlotte Hayes just taught a masterclass in how to handle cheating husbands. Respect. Asterisk, imagine being Victoria Cole right now, realizing you destroyed your career and reputation for a married man while you were still married. The irony is chef's kiss. Every cheater needs to see what Charlotte Hayes did. Actions have consequences. Plot twist of the century. Victoria Cole never actually divorced her first husband. This is better than any TV drama. Charlotte Hayes walked into that restaurant in a red dress with her husband's mistress's actual husband. That's not revenge. That's poetry. Rachel scrolled through dozens more. You're a hero to wronged wives everywhere. There are already memes. Memes? I felt dizzy. I don't want memes. Too late. Look at this one. It's you in that red dress photoshopped onto a throne with the caption, Queen of Consequences. Oh, and this one has you as a chess player with a text, checkmate in red. They're actually kind of amazing. I sat down heavily. This was supposed to be contained. Just Ethan, Victoria, Daniel, and the legal system. Charlotte, you walked into Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant with a secret husband of your husband's mistress. Did you really think that was going to stay quiet? There were other diners, waitstaff, people talk, especially when the story is this good. She had a point. My laptop chimed. Email from my attorney, Jennifer Morrison. Charlotte just saw the news. Excellent work. Ethan's attorney called at 8:15 a.m. They want to settle quickly and quietly. He's willing to agree to almost anything to make this go away. Let's talk this afternoon about terms. You're in a very strong negotiating position. Jennifer, they want to settle, I told Rachel. Of course they do. Ethan's career depends on his reputation. A prolonged, messy divorce with infidelity evidence? That destroys him. He's probably already getting calls from the partners at his firm. As if on cue, my home phone rang. I'd forgotten I still had a landline. Ethan had insisted on it for professional reasons. I answered. Hello. Mrs. Hayes? An unfamiliar voice.
Male.
Formal. This is Richard Henderson from Henderson and Cross Financial. I'm calling regarding your husband. Henderson, as in the Henderson from Ethan's firm. The senior partner. The man who controlled Ethan's career trajectory. Yes, Mr. Henderson? I wanted to reach out personally to express my apologies for what you've been going through. The firm was completely unaware of Ethan's personal indiscretions. Had we known, we would have addressed it immediately. Our company has a strict morality clause in partnership agreements. I let that sink in. I appreciate you calling. I also wanted you to know that we're conducting an internal review of Ethan's conduct. His behavior reflects poorly on the firm, and we take our reputation very seriously. There may be professional consequences for him. I thought you should be aware. Translation: Ethan was about to lose his partnership. I understand, Mr. Henderson. If you need anything, character references for the divorce, documentation of his professional conduct, anything at all, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. Here's my personal number. He gave me his cell phone. The senior partner of one of Manhattan's most prestigious financial firms was giving me his personal cell phone number. Thank you, Mr. Henderson. That's very kind. It's the right thing to do, Mrs. Hayes. I've always found you to be gracious and professional at firm events. Ethan was a fool to jeopardize his marriage and his career. Unfortunately, he'll have to live with those choices. After he hung up, I looked at Rachel. Ethan's about to lose his partnership. Good. What goes around comes around. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel Cole. Saw the news. Well played. My attorney is filing divorce papers against Victoria today. Thought you'd want to know. Also, the real estate board is investigating her for using my company's name and connections without authorization. She's done in this city. Thank you for helping me see the truth.
DC.
Victoria's life is imploding, I said, showing Rachel the text. Also good. She knew he was married, Charlotte. She pursued him anyway. She doesn't get to play victim here. Another text. This one from an unknown number. Mrs. Hayes, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm Jessica Trent. We met at the Children's Hospital Gala last year. I just wanted to say how brave you are. My husband had an affair 3 years ago, and I stayed. I've regretted it every day since. You've inspired me to finally file for divorce. Thank you for showing women that we don't have to accept betrayal. You've changed my life. I stared at the message, tears suddenly burning my eyes. What's wrong? Rachel asked. Nothing's wrong. I didn't think about this part. About other women watching. About what it might mean to them. You're not just standing up for yourself, Em. You're standing up for everyone who's been lied to and cheated on and made to feel like they're crazy for being upset. You're showing them that fighting back is possible. Hit that like button if you've ever wanted to stand up for yourself, but didn't know how. By afternoon, my phone had 53 missed calls and 200 unread messages. I'd turned off social media notifications after the number reached 1,000. Jennifer Morrison called at 2 p.m. Charlotte, Ethan's attorney just sent over proposed settlement terms. You need to see this. She emailed me a PDF. I opened it, scrolling through the legal language. Ethan was offering me everything. The house, our 4-bedroom townhouse in the Upper East Side, currently worth $4.2 million. His full retirement account, half of all investment portfolios, plus a lump sum payment of $2 million. Full coverage of my legal fees, and a gag order requesting that I not discuss the affair publicly. He's desperate, Jennifer said. The publicity is killing him. His firm is conducting a review. Several clients have called asking about the news, and apparently his mother called him screaming this morning. He wants this to go away. What about the gag order? We can negotiate that out. You haven't actually said anything public except that one statement. The press found out through witnesses at the restaurant. You're under no obligation to stay silent, but we can use his desire for one as leverage. I want more, I heard myself say. More. He took 14 months of my life.
He humiliated me.
He made me doubt my own sanity when I started suspecting something was wrong. I want enough money that I never have to work again, if I don't want to. I want enough to start over completely. What number are we talking about? 5 million. Plus the house. Plus his retirement. Plus he pays for 5 years of therapy for me because God knows I'll need it. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. That's aggressive, Charlotte. He can afford it. And if he doesn't want his infidelity discussed in court, in detail, with all the evidence I've collected presented publicly, he'll pay it. I'll draft the counteroffer. One more thing. The gag order works both ways. He doesn't get to talk about me or this divorce publicly either. No interviews, no statements, no attempts to spin this. He stays silent, I stay silent.
Done.
I'll have it to his attorney by end of day. Ethan called me that evening from a number I didn't recognize. Charlotte, please. We need to talk. We have attorneys for that. $5 million? Are you serious? You're trying to bankrupt me. You're worth $30 million, Ethan. I checked. $5 million is less than 20%. Considering I spent 10 years building your career, hosting your clients, managing your home, and supporting your ambitions, I'd say I've earned it. This is extortion. No, this is a divorce settlement. You can accept it, or we can go to court, and I can present all my evidence publicly. Which do you prefer? Silence. Then, the firm put me on administrative leave. They're deciding whether to force me out of the partnership. I heard. This is destroying my career, Charlotte. You destroyed your career when you started sleeping with someone else. I just made sure people found out about it. I thought you loved me. The statement was so absurd, I almost laughed. I did love you. Past tense. But you can't cheat on someone for over a year and then expect them to protect you from the consequences. What about forgiveness? What about working through difficult times? You can't work through something when one person doesn't know there's a problem, Ethan. You never gave me a chance to forgive you because you never told me the truth. You just kept lying and lying and lying. So that's it? 10 years of marriage, and you're just walking away.
No, incorrecta.
You walked away 14 months ago. I'm just making sure the door locks behind you. I hung up, blocked the number, poured myself a glass of the expensive wine he'd always said I didn't have the palate to appreciate. It tasted perfect. Victoria's life unraveled faster than I'd anticipated. By Friday, 3 major clients had publicly dropped her. By Monday, Her boutique styling business had closed its doors. By Wednesday, she'd put her apartment on the market. Daniel's divorce filing hit the news Tuesday morning. His attorney had included the detail about Victoria's failure to file the original papers, her misrepresentation of her marital status, and allegations of fraud. It was brutal and public and entirely deserved. I received a letter from Victoria on Thursday, hand-delivered by courier. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Charlotte, you win. I've lost everything. My business, my reputation, my future. I hope you're satisfied. You destroyed me over a man. Was it worth it? You claim to be the victim here, but you're just as vindictive as you accuse us of being. You could have handled this privately. Instead, you made a spectacle. You ruined lives. I hope you can live with yourself. I read it twice. Then I wrote a response. Also by hand.
Victoria.
I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. I simply made sure people knew the truth. You knew Ethan was married. You pursued him anyway. You knew you weren't divorced. You lied anyway. You built a business on connections and reputation while lying about fundamental aspects of your identity. I didn't ruin your life. I exposed the lies you were already living. As for living with myself, I sleep better now than I have in 14 months. Because I'm not the one who cheated. I'm not the one who lied. I'm the one who stood up and said enough. You want me to feel guilty for your consequences? I don't. Not even a little bit. Learn from this, Victoria. Maybe in your next life, you'll try honesty. Charlotte. I sent it back via the same courier. I never heard from her again. 3 months after the baby shower. No, wait. Wrong story. 3 months after the restaurant confrontation, the divorce was finalized. Ethan agreed to my terms. All of them. $5 million, the house, his retirement account, 5 years of therapy coverage, and mutual non-disclosure. He signed without argument because his firm had forced him to resign from his partnership, 3 major clients had left, and his reputation in Manhattan finance circles was essentially destroyed. He moved to Boston. Started over at a smaller firm. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, he was keeping his head down, working long hours, trying to rebuild what he'd destroyed. I didn't care. He'd become irrelevant to my life. Victoria and Daniel's divorce was messy. Turned out Victoria had been using Daniel's name and connections for years without his knowledge or permission. She owed him substantial amounts in business restitution. Last I heard, she'd moved to Los Angeles, hoping to start fresh where her reputation hadn't preceded her. I also didn't care. She'd become irrelevant too. As for me, I did something I'd never allowed myself to do during my marriage. I figured out who Charlotte Hayes actually was when she wasn't being Ethan Hayes' wife. I started painting again. Something I'd loved in college, but abandoned because Ethan thought it was impractical. Turned out I was still pretty good at it. My first exhibition, small at a gallery in Brooklyn, sold 4 pieces. I traveled. Paris, Barcelona, Tokyo, Sydney. All the places Ethan had been too busy to visit. I went alone and discovered I actually preferred my own company to constantly accommodating someone else's schedule. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Women who'd slowly faded from my life because Ethan found them negative or not ambitious enough or too much drama. They welcomed me back without judgment. And I started a blog. It began as therapy, really. A way to process what had happened, to make sense of the betrayal and the aftermath. But it resonated with people. Thousands of women found my writing, shared their own stories, offered support and solidarity. I called it Reclaiming Red, a reference to the dress I'd worn that night. The dress that symbolized my refusal to be a victim. Within 6 months, I had 50,000 followers. Within a year, I'd been approached by a publisher about turning it into a book. Rachel was with me the day I signed the book deal. You know what the best part is? She said, raising her champagne glass in my newly renovated home office. What? Ethan tried to destroy you. He thought you were weak, dependent, too comfortable to fight back. And instead, You've built something bigger and better than anything you had with him. You've turned his betrayal into your platform. That's not revenge. That's resurrection. I clinked my glass against hers. To resurrection. To resurrection. The book launched a year and a half after the divorce was finalized. Reclaiming Red, One Woman's Journey from Betrayal to Empowerment. It debuted at number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. The publisher organized a launch event at a bookstore in Soho. Over 200 people showed up. Women who'd followed my blog, who'd experienced their own betrayals, who wanted to hear that survival was possible. I wore red. Of course, I wore red. During the Q&A portion, a young woman in the third row raised her hand. How did you know you were strong enough to do it? To blow up your life like that? I didn't, I answered honestly. I was terrified. But I realized something important. Staying would have required more strength than leaving. Staying would have meant swallowing the truth, accepting the lies, pretending I didn't know what I knew. That would have destroyed me slowly, from the inside out. So I chose the quick destruction. The painful but honest destruction. And I chose to rebuild from there. Do you regret it?
Never.
Not once. Not even on the hard days. What would you say to women who are in similar situations right now? I thought about Jessica Trent, the woman who'd texted me that day. About the thousands of women who'd reached out through my blog. About everyone who was living in a marriage that looked perfect from the outside but felt hollow on the inside. I would say, your pain is real. Your anger is justified. Your instinct that something is wrong?
Trust it.
And when you're ready, not when someone else tells you to be ready, but when you're truly ready, walk away. Walk away and don't look back. Because your life is worth more than someone else's lies. The room erupted in applause. After the event, as I signed books, a woman in her 50s approached my table. She waited until the line had cleared, then leaned forward. I was at Oriole that night, she said quietly. I looked up sharply. I was having dinner in the main room with my husband. We saw you walk in. Saw you walk into that private dining room. And we saw you walk out 20 minutes later with your head high. She smiled. I've been married for 30 years. Happy marriage. But watching you that night, watching you refuse to be humiliated, that was the most powerful thing I've ever seen. You didn't cry. You didn't scream. You just stood there in that red dress and took your power back. Thank you, I managed.
No.
Thank you. My daughter was in a bad relationship last year. Boyfriend who cheated, who lied, who made her feel crazy for questioning him. She wanted to stay, wanted to make it work. And I showed her the articles about you, told her about what you did. She left him 3 days later. You saved my daughter from years of pain, Charlotte. You gave her permission to choose herself. She squeezed my hand, then disappeared into the crowd. I sat there for a moment, overwhelmed. This was what I'd created from the ashes of my marriage. Not just a book or a platform or a bestseller.
Hope.
Permission. The knowledge that women could fight back and survive. Maybe even thrive. Subscribe to see the final chapter. You won't believe who shows up next. 2 years after everything imploded, I was at a charity gala. Ironically, the same children's hospital event where I'd once attended as Ethan's wife. But this time, I was there as myself. As Charlotte Hayes, author and advocate for women leaving toxic relationships. The hospital had invited me to speak about my work, and I'd agreed. It felt right, somehow. Coming back to a place where I'd once played the role of supportive wife, now showing up as someone completely different. I'd just finished my speech when someone approached me at the bar. Charlotte Hayes. I've been hoping to run into you. I turned. Daniel Cole stood there in a tuxedo, holding a glass of scotch, and wearing an expression of genuine warmth. Daniel, this is a surprise. Good surprise or bad surprise?
Good.
Definitely good. How are you? Divorced. Finally. Officially. Victoria signed the papers 6 months ago. How are you? The same.
Free.
starting to figure out who I am without being defined by my marriage. We moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. I read your book, Daniel said. It's remarkable, Charlotte. What you've built from all of that pain. It's impressive. Thank you. And thank you for that night. For showing up. I couldn't have done it without you. We helped each other. You gave me the truth I needed to hear, and I gave you what? Dramatic entrance support. I laughed. The best dramatic entrance support anyone could ask for. In all seriousness, though, I'm grateful. Victoria and I should have divorced properly years ago. Letting it drag on unresolved was toxic for both of us. You forced us to finally deal with reality. What's she doing now? Last I heard, she's in LA, working for a celebrity styling service. Not running her own business, but employed. Keeping her head down. I think she learned some hard lessons. And Ethan? You haven't kept tabs on him? Not even a little bit. Is that cold? I think it's healthy. Daniel took a sip of his drink. But since you asked, he's still in Boston. Remarried, actually. That surprised me. Already. 6 months ago. To his therapist. I nearly spit out my wine. His therapist? Apparently they started dating after his therapy ended. It's probably not the healthiest foundation for a relationship, but who am I to judge?
Wow.
I genuinely don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. He's not your problem anymore. That's the point, right? He was right. Ethan had become a character in a story I'd written and published and moved past. He wasn't real to me anymore. Not in any way that mattered. What about you? I asked. Anyone special? Working on it. Dating again, which is strange after being technically married for 15 years. But it's nice. Uncomplicated. Honest. He smiled. Honesty is underrated. It really is. We talked for another hour. About life, about starting over, about the strange journey that had brought us together that night at Oriole and the even stranger journey afterward. Eventually, Daniel checked his watch. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. But Charlotte? I'm glad we did what we did. Not just for us, but for everyone watching. You were right. Actions need consequences. And people need to see that fighting back is possible. Thank you, Daniel, for everything. He kissed my cheek. Take care of yourself, Charlotte Hayes. You too, Daniel Cole. I watched him leave, feeling a sense of closure I hadn't known I needed. The evening wound down. I was gathering my things when my phone buzzed. An email. From an address I didn't recognize. Mrs. Hayes. You don't know me, but my name is Rebecca Chen. I'm a therapist specializing in relationship trauma and abuse recovery. I've had 3 clients in the past year who discovered their partners were cheating. All 3 of them mentioned your story as inspiration for leaving toxic relationships. I'm writing to ask if you'd be interested in speaking at a conference I'm organizing for mental health professionals. We're discussing how to better support clients through betrayal trauma, and I think hearing your perspective, how you found the strength to act, how you rebuilt afterward, would be invaluable. The conference is in 6 months. We can offer speaking fees and travel expenses. But more than that, you'd be helping therapists better understand how to empower their clients to choose themselves. Please consider it. Best regards, Rebecca Chen, PhD. I stared at the email for a long moment. 2 years ago, I'd been a woman whose life was imploding. A woman standing in a private dining room watching her husband celebrate with his mistress. A woman who had a choice, collapse or fight back. I'd chosen to fight. And now I was someone who helped other women make that same choice. Someone who showed them that betrayal wasn't the end of their story, just the end of one chapter. I hit reply. Dr. Chen. I would be honored to speak at your conference. Let's discuss details. Best, Charlotte Hayes. 6 months later, I stood on a stage in front of 300 mental health professionals. I told them everything. The discovery, the investigation, the confrontation. the aftermath, the rebuilding. I told them about the women who'd reached out, the marriages they'd left, the lives they'd reclaimed, the hope they'd found in seeing someone else refuse to be a victim. Betrayal doesn't just destroy trust in a partner, I said. It destroys trust in yourself. You start questioning your judgment, your instincts, your worth. You wonder how you didn't see it, didn't know, didn't stop it. I paused, looking out at the sea of faces. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is trust yourself again. Trust that you're not crazy. Trust that your pain is real. Trust that you deserve better. And then act on that trust. How do you help clients reach that point? Someone called out from the audience. You remind them that they have agency, that they're not powerless, that choosing themselves, even when it's hard, even when it costs them everything comfortable, that's not selfish. That's survival. A woman in the front row raised her hand. What about forgiveness? Should betrayed partners forgive? That's individual. Some people can forgive and rebuild. Some people forgive and leave. Some people never forgive, and that's okay too. Forgiveness isn't required for healing. What's required is truth, boundaries, and the willingness to choose yourself even when it feels impossible. Do you think Ethan has changed? I considered that. I don't know. I hope so, for his new wife's sake. But whether he has or hasn't doesn't affect me anymore. His journey is his.
Mine's mine.
They're separate now. That's the gift of divorce. You get to stop being responsible for someone else's growth. The conference ended with a standing ovation. Afterward, dozens of therapists approached me, shared stories of their clients, thanked me for being public with my pain because it gave their clients permission to be public with theirs. One woman stood at the back of the line, waiting until everyone else had left. Charlotte. She was young, maybe 28, with red-rimmed eyes. I'm not a therapist. I snuck in because I needed to hear you speak. I'm in your situation right now. Found out 2 weeks ago my husband has been cheating with my cousin. They're planning to leave their spouses and get married. My heart broke for her. I'm so sorry. Everyone keeps telling me to be the bigger person, to handle it privately, to not make waves. But I don't want to be the bigger person, Charlotte. I want to make waves. I want them to face consequences. Is that wrong? No, I said firmly. It's human. It's honest. It's healthy. How do I do it? How do I stop being afraid? I thought about that night at Oriole, the terror I'd felt, the uncertainty, the risk. You don't stop being afraid, I told her. You act anyway. Fear is information, not instruction. It tells you the stakes are high, but it doesn't get to make your decisions for you. What if I lose everything? What if you gain yourself? She started crying. I held her while she sobbed. This stranger who'd come to hear that survival was possible. You're going to be okay, I whispered. It won't feel like it for a while. It's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever experienced. But on the other side, freedom,
Truth.
yourself. And that's worth fighting for. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Thank you for being brave enough to go first, for showing the rest of us how to do it. After she left, I sat in the empty conference room for a while. This was my life now. Not perfect. Not what I'd planned. But mine. Wholly, completely mine. And that was worth more than any perfect marriage built on lies. 5 years after the restaurant, I was in my art studio, the one I'd built in the townhouse that used to be ours but was now just mine, working on a new piece. Bold reds and golds, abstract patterns that somehow felt like joy and pain swirled together. My phone rang. Rachel, turn on channel 7. Now.
Why?
What's? Just do it. I turned on the small TV in the corner of the studio. Entertainment news. They were covering some society wedding. And there, in the background of a shot, Ethan, with his new wife. She was pregnant, very pregnant, and he had his hand on her belly, the way he used to touch mine. I waited for pain, for jealousy, for something. Nothing came.
Ink?
You there? Rachel's voice in my ear. I'm here. You okay? Yeah. Actually, I really am. It's like looking at a stranger. I feel nothing. Is that weird? That's healing, babe. That's what it looks like. After we hung up, I looked at my painting, at the life I'd built, at the woman I'd become. Charlotte Hayes, author, artist, advocate, woman who'd walked through fire and came out stronger. Not Ethan Hayes' wife, not a victim of betrayal, not defined by what was done to me, but by what I'd chosen to do in response. I picked up my brush and added another stroke of red to the canvas.
Bold.
Unapologetic.
Alive.
My phone buzzed. Email notification. Charlotte, you don't know me, but I just wanted to say thank you. I read your book 3 months ago after finding out my husband was cheating. I left him yesterday, took my kids, and moved into my own apartment. I'm terrified, but I'm free. You showed me that was possible. Thank you for going first. A woman who's learning to reclaim her own red. I smiled. Saved the email in the folder I kept with hundreds of others just like it. This was my legacy. Not a failed marriage. Not a public confrontation. Not even the best-selling book. My legacy was every woman who saw what I did and found the courage to choose herself. Every woman who decided that comfortable lies were worse than painful truths. Every woman who walked away from betrayal and toward herself. That night at Oriole, I'd walked in wearing red to destroy my husband and his mistress. But I'd walked out wearing red because I destroyed the woman who was willing to accept less than she deserved. And I'd never looked back. If this story moved you, subscribe now. Share it with someone who needs to hear that fighting back is possible, that rebuilding is real, and that betrayal doesn't get to write your ending. You do. Because here's the truth that Charlotte Hayes discovered and that every woman needs to know. You're not what happened to you. You are not your partner's betrayal. You are not your broken marriage. You are what you choose to do next. You are how you rebuild. You are the strength you didn't know you had until you needed it. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can wear is red lipstick, a stunning dress, and the absolute certainty that you deserve better. This is Charlotte Hayes signing off, not as someone's wife, not as a victim, but as a woman who learned that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's resurrection. Now go live your life like you mean it.